In the small, bustling town of Maplewood, Saturdays were always a little livelier than other days. The sun peeked through fluffy white clouds, casting warm rays on the town square where the local auction was set to take place. Colorful banners flapped gently in the breeze, and the familiar sound of laughter filled the air as families gathered to enjoy the day. But for one mom, named Clara, this Saturday held more meaning than just a chance to socialize. Clara was a single mother of 2 kids, Mia and Jake, and life had not been easy for them. If you enjoy this video, please like the video and subscribe for more, and tell me where you are watching from today. I always find it awesome to see where all my viewers are watching from. Let's get back to the video. They often struggled to make ends meet, which meant there wasn't much extra money for luxuries like new furniture or special treats. Clara worked long hours at a nearby diner, and every penny she earned went towards bills and groceries. So when she saw a flyer advertising a local auction, her heart raced with hope. It promised an opportunity to find unique items at bargain prices. As Clara wrapped up her shift at the diner that morning, she couldn't shake the thought of the auction. She imagined herself discovering something special that could brighten their home. With her meager savings tucked away in her wallet, she decided to check it out. When she arrived at the town square, Clara was charmed by the buzz around the auctioneer's table. People milled about, chatting excitedly about the items up for bid. Old tools, vintage clothes, and even furniture that had seen better days. The air was filled with anticipation and laughter, making it feel like a community gathering more than a simple auction. Clara carefully navigated through the crowd, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. She felt a mix of excitement and anxiety as she wondered if she would actually find something worth taking home. Her children were with her, tugging at her sleeves, both eager to look around, but also aware that money was tight. After browsing through various tables filled with items big and small, Clara noticed an old wooden cabinet tucked away in a corner. It stood alone, almost forgotten among brighter things that caught everyone's eye. It had faded paint and small scratches across its surface, telling stories of years gone by. Clara felt an inexplicable pull toward it. "Mom, look at that!" Jake exclaimed, pointing at the cabinet with wide eyes. Even Mia seemed intrigued by its mysterious appearance. Clara stepped closer and examined it more thoroughly. She loved its vintage charm despite its worn exterior. She imagined how it could serve as storage for their games or books, or even as a decorative piece meant to spark conversations with guests. Best of all, when she checked the price tag hanging from its handle, her heart skipped a beat. It said just $1. Her mind raced with possibilities. For such a low price, she couldn't let it slip away. Clara quickly raised her bid hand when the auctioneer called for offers on the cabinet. To her surprise, she was met with no competition. Maybe others simply didn't see what she did. "Sold for $1, echoed through the square as the gavel banged down. Clara beamed with pride as she claimed her new treasure. With the kids excitedly chattering about what they would put inside it and how they would paint it together later on, Clara felt a rush of joy despite their financial struggles. As they headed home with their new find nestled in the back of their aging minivan, Clara reflected on how this small purchase felt like a big victory. Perhaps this cabinet held more than just space for their belongings. Maybe it came with hidden surprises or stories waiting to be discovered. With each bump on the road home, Clara's excitement grew stronger. What secrets might lie within? It wasn't just about saving money today. It was about bringing joy into their lives and finding unexpected treasures along the way. This moment at the auction opened up a world of possibilities for Clara and her family. a world filled with hope and wonder that only an adventure could bring. Little did they know that this cabinet would soon lead to a mystery they never anticipated. As Clara walked through the bustling auction, her heart beat faster with each item she inspected. She loved the vibrant atmosphere filled with laughter and chatter, but her eyes were scanning for something that could brighten their lives. The tables were crowded with eclectic pieces, an old bicycle, a stack of mismatched dishes, and various tools that would be useful to someone who had a knack for repairs. However, as she made her way toward the back corner of the square, something caught her eye. A cabinet hidden beneath a thin layer of dust. It was not flashy or polished like some of the other items, but there was an alluring charm about it. Clara felt drawn to it in a way she couldn't quite explain. The cabinet had a rustic feel, with faded paint chipping at the edges and scratches on its surface that hinted at stories from years gone by. To anyone else, it might have looked like just another forgotten piece of furniture. But to Clara, it seemed special. Her heart raced as she approached it, feeling a sense of possibility wash over her. "Mom, what do you think?" Mia asked quietly as they both took in the cabinet's worn appearance. Jake stood beside her, his little hands clasped together in anticipation. "It looks like it has character," Clara replied, studying its shape and form more closely. She imagined how it could serve many purposes, perhaps as storage for their games, or even as a display for family photos adorned with colorful frames. Bending down to examine it further, Clara noticed something intriguing, a small latch on the right side that appeared a bit out of place. What could be behind that? She wondered if there might be hidden compartments waiting to reveal old treasures or secrets from its past owners. The very idea thrilled her. It was more than just a cabinet. It felt like an adventure waiting to unfold. "Look at this," Jake exclaimed, his voice echoing with excitement as he pointed to the aging wood grain. "It's really cool." "Yes," Clara agreed, smiling softly at his enthusiasm. "And if we paint it together later on, we can make it our own." Just then, she spotted the price tag dangling from one of the handles. It read $1 in bold letters. For a moment, she blinked in disbelief before a wide grin broke across her face. A mix of shock and joy bubbled inside her. Such an amazing find at such an incredible price was almost too good to be true. "No way," Mia gasped in delight as she leaned closer to examine the tag herself. "Can we get it? Please?" Her big eyes filled with hope made it even harder for Clara to say no. Struggling against the tightening grip of doubt in her mind about whether they could afford anything, even this, Clara shook off her hesitation. This was more than just about spending money. This was about bringing something new into their lives and sharing experiences that would build memories long after this day ended. "Of course we can," Clara said cheerfully as determination colored her voice. "I'm going to bid on this cabinet right now." Both kids cheered excitedly as their mother raised her hand high when the auctioneer started calling for bids on the treasure hidden beneath all that dust. Surrounded by lively chatter and bidding from others in attendance, Clara felt empowered by their hopeful energy. When no one else seemed interested and the gavel came down declaring victory at $1 for her precious find, tears nearly brimmed in Clara's eyes, but happy ones. She couldn't believe how fate had smiled upon them today. Walking away from the auction table toward their minivan, with warm pride swelling within her heart, felt like carrying home not just furniture, but inspiration itself. A unique piece representing resilience amid challenges. As they placed their new addition into the vehicle and settled inside amidst giggles and happy chatter about future decorating plans. What color they'd paint it, and which games should go inside. Clara couldn't shake off the lingering curiosity about what might lie behind that strange latch. Perhaps fortune truly favored those willing enough to chase opportunities, even those tightly held within dusty cabinets at local auctions, with every bump on the road home growing more excited along with them. Mysteries soon lay ahead, waiting to unfold quietly beneath layers of nostalgia wrapped around its vintage frame. Yet ahead rested another adventure sure enough proposing its unexpected delights. As Clara drove home from the auction, the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting a warm, golden glow over Maplewood. She could hardly contain her excitement as she and the kids chatted animatedly about their plans for the cabinet. The minivan contained not just a piece of furniture, but a world of possibilities that made her heart swell with joy. "Do you think we can put our board games in there?" Mia asked from the back seat, her voice bubbling with enthusiasm. "Definitely. And we could use it to store your art supplies too," Clara replied, imagining how the cabinet could be transformed into a special place for their crafts and games. "It will be like our treasure chest." Jake, ever the dreamer, chimed in. "What if we paint it bright blue? Then it'll look like something out of a fairy tale." Clara smiled at her children's ideas, feeling grateful for this shared moment. This cabinet was more than just an old piece of furniture. It was a canvas for their creativity and a chance to bring joy into their home. Their laughter echoed in the minivan, and Clara's heart felt lighter than it had in a long time. Once they arrived home, Clara quickly jumped out and started to unload the cabinet from the back of the vehicle. It felt heavier than she expected, but also sturdy, as if it had withstood the test of time and was ready for its new life with her family. As she heaved it into the living room, her children helped by pushing from behind and guiding it through the front door with grins plastered across their faces. Placing the cabinet in the corner of the living room, Clara took a step back and admired their find. The warm wood tones contrasted beautifully with the fresh white walls of their modest home. Dust particles danced in the golden light filtering through the window, creating a magical atmosphere that made Clara's heart flutter. "There it is," she said dramatically, her hands resting on her hips as she gazed proudly at their treasure. "Our very own cabinet." Mia and Jake rushed to her side, both staring at the cabinet with wide eyes as if they were unveiling an ancient relic. Clara knelt down to examine it closely, running her fingers along its surface, feeling every scratch and groove that told stories of its past. "What should we do first?" Jake asked, bouncing on his toes. "Let's clean it up," Clara suggested, her mind buzzing with ideas. "Then we can decide how we want to decorate it." As they began to wipe off the layers of dust accumulated over who knows how long, Clara couldn't help but think about how this cabinet would fit into their lives. It would hold not just objects, but memories, things they loved and cherished. This was where they would store board games for family game nights, art supplies for colorful craft projects, and maybe even some of those treasured keepsakes that had been misplaced during moves over the years. "Look," Mia exclaimed as she brushed off a particularly stubborn spot. "You can see the wood grain better now." "Yes, it has beautiful patterns," Clara replied, feeling even more connected to this cabinet now that they were giving it a fresh start. "Just like our family, each part tells its own story." As they cleaned, Clara's thoughts wandered back to the strange latch on the side. She wondered what secrets lay hidden inside and whether unlocking them would reveal moments from another time or perhaps treasures forgotten or lost by previous owners. The anticipation made her heart race again. When they finally finished cleaning, Clara decided to open that mysterious latch for a closer look. "Shall we see what's inside?" she asked excitedly, her children leaning in closer as they held their breath in anticipation. As she carefully pulled on the latch and opened the compartment door, Clara felt a rush of excitement mixed with nervousness. What wonders awaited them inside? Little did they know that this cabinet would soon lead them on an adventure filled with surprises, expanding beyond simple storage into an unexpected journey of discovery. In that moment, as they gathered around their new piece of furniture filled with hope and excitement, Clara realized something important. This cabinet represented more than just storage. It symbolized resilience, dreams, and family bonds waiting to flourish in their cozy little home. As Clara and her children gathered around the newly cleaned cabinet in their living room, excitement filled the air. The sun poured in through the window, casting warm light on the wooden surface and illuminating dust particles that danced like tiny fairies. The cabinet stood proudly against the wall, a treasure waiting to be fully discovered. Clara had already envisioned how they would use it, storing games, art supplies, and family keepsakes. But as she took another look, something unusual caught her eye. On the right side of the cabinet, partially hidden by shadows, was a small latch that seemed out of place. It was different from the rest of the cabinet's simple design, drawing her attention like a magnet. "Hey, look at this!" Clara exclaimed, kneeling down to examine it more closely. Her heart raced as curiosity bubbled inside her. "There's a latch here. I wonder what it leads to." Mia and Jake hurried over and peered at the latch with widened eyes. "What do you think is behind it?" Mia asked, her voice filled with a mix of excitement and nervousness. "I don't know," Clara replied thoughtfully, brushing away more dust that had settled around it. "But I have a feeling it could be something special." The latch seemed old, yet sturdy enough to suggest that it had been used before. Clara gently tugged on it with her fingers, but felt no give. It wouldn't budge. She frowned slightly, realizing that unlocking its mystery might take more than just a gentle pull. She wondered if perhaps there were specific steps to follow, or maybe even a hidden trick to reveal whatever lay behind this strange door. Jake leaned in closer, his eyes sparkling with curiosity. "Maybe we should try to figure out how to open it. It could be like a treasure hunt." Clara chuckled at her son's enthusiasm, but felt a wave of determination wash over her as well. "You're right. Let's see if we can find a way." She stood up again and stepped back for a moment to survey the cabinet, as if taking in its entirety would grant her answers. As she examined it more closely, Clara noticed intricate carvings along the edges, swirls and patterns that added character to its rustic charm. Each scratch and imperfection told its own story, capturing moments from long ago. What other secrets might this cabinet hold? She felt an urge to dig deeper into its past. "Why don't we all look together?" Clara suggested with newfound excitement. The kids nodded eagerly as they circled around the cabinet. They began inspecting every inch of the surface for clues or markings that might help them understand how to unlock the compartment behind the latch. Mia pointed out how some parts of the wood looked slightly different from others, perhaps worn down by time or handled frequently by previous owners. "Maybe there's a trick," she said enthusiastically as she ran her fingers along various sections of wood. Clara appreciated their eagerness, but also worried about what lay behind that door. Would there be something valuable? Or perhaps old trinkets left by someone who cared for this piece before them? Whatever it was, they were now united in their quest for discovery. Feeling adventurous, Jake began tapping lightly around the area near the latch, hoping that something would click or slide open with just the right pressure. His determination made Clara smile. It reminded her of their family game nights where they worked together to solve puzzles or figure out tricky games. "Let's think like detectives," Clara said with an encouraging tone. "We need to find clues just like they do in stories." As they continued exploring together, Clara couldn't help but feel a deepening connection not only with this cabinet, but also with her children during this shared moment of curiosity and teamwork. This wasn't merely about opening up an old piece of furniture. It was about creating memories and fostering imagination within their home. Suddenly, Mia gasped and pointed again at something shiny peeking through a tiny crack in one corner of the cabinet's doorframe. "What's that?" she asked breathlessly. Intrigued by her discovery, Clara leaned closer and squinted through the narrow gap. Could there really be something glimmering inside? Her heart raced again. This moment was indeed filled with promise. What awaited them behind those mysterious doors? Little did they know that unlocking this compartment would lead them down an unexpected path full of adventures waiting just beyond reach. The atmosphere in the living room crackled with anticipation as Clara knelt beside the cabinet, her heart pounding in her chest. The small latch glinted in the warm light, filtering through the window, beckoning her to uncover what secrets lay hidden behind it. Her fingers hovered over the latch, trembling slightly with excitement and curiosity. "Are you ready?" Clara asked her children, who were leaning in closer, their eyes wide and filled with wonder. "Yes," they both replied in unison, their voices a mix of eagerness and suspense. Taking a deep breath, Clara steadied herself. She could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on her. This wasn't just about opening a door. It was about discovering something that might add magic to their lives. What could be inside? Old letters? Forgotten toys? Perhaps even something valuable? The possibilities danced through her mind like swirling leaves caught in a gentle breeze. Clara gently grasped the latch and gave it a soft tug. It resisted at first, but she felt a slight give as she applied more pressure. "Come on," she whispered to herself, feeling determined to unveil this mystery. With one final pull, she heard a satisfying click as the latch released. Her heart raced as she carefully pushed open the compartment door. It creaked slightly, echoing softly through the quiet room. Clara's breath caught in her throat as she peered inside. Her curiosity piqued like never before. The dark space was filled with shadows, making it hard to see clearly what lay beyond. "What's in there?" Mia whispered, straining to get a better look. "I don't know yet," Clara replied excitedly but nervously. "Let's find out together." As she leaned closer, a strange mix of fear and excitement washed over her. Would they find something wonderful or perhaps something unexpected? Clara could almost feel the weight of history pressing against her from deep within that cabinet. With trembling fingers, she reached inside slowly. The cool air rushed out like a forgotten secret being set free. Her heart beat louder in her ears as she felt around for anything solid among the darkness. Every second felt like an eternity as time seemed to stretch. Anticipation hung thickly in the air. Finally, Clara's fingers brushed against something smooth and flat. Carefully pulling it out into the light revealed an old leather-bound book wrapped in dust and cobwebs. She couldn't believe that such an artifact was hidden away for so long. It looked ancient yet intriguing, a treasure waiting to be rediscovered. "Oh, wow," Jake exclaimed as Clara held up the book for them all to see. "What is it?" "I'm not sure," Clara replied with wide eyes, brushing off some of the dust covering its surface before flipping it open gently. The pages were yellowed with age and filled with faded ink that told stories from another time long ago. Mia leaned closer as Clara began to read aloud some of the words written within those pages. To my dearest love. The words floated into the air like whispers from history itself. What does it say? Jake asked eagerly, his eyes darting back and forth between his mother and the book. It looks like some kind of journal or love letters. Clara responded thoughtfully, engrossed by each word that was now sparking lively imaginations amongst them all. The more she read, the more fascinated they became by tales of joy and heartache captured long before they existed. Stories of love lost and found again sparkling under this dim light within their home. Suddenly remembering there might be more waiting inside still made excitement surge anew within them. They hadn't even scratched beneath this surface yet. Other curiosities awaited discovery behind shadows cast by cozy corners where memories lay stored beneath forgotten layers. Clara couldn't help but feel that this cabinet had brought them not only treasures from another era, but also deeper connections. Not just between themselves, but between generations past who had poured their hearts into these old pages, now resting peacefully alongside theirs. Let's keep looking, Mia said enthusiastically, after soaking up every word they could share together at once. They all felt empowered now by adventure beckoning forth. As they returned their focus back towards exploring further within this mysterious cabinet, what other wonders awaited? This journey had only begun. They were on a path leading toward exciting discoveries right there at home. A place once filled merely with furniture would soon transform into realms alive with stories. As Clara carefully set the old leather-bound book aside, her children leaned in closer to the open compartment of the cabinet, their eyes gleaming with eager curiosity. The dim light illuminated more than just the pages of the book. It revealed an array of fascinating items tucked neatly within the shadows. Clara's heart raced as she reached in, wanting to uncover the contents of this hidden treasure trove. Oh, look at this, Mia exclaimed as Clara fished out a small wooden box adorned with tiny, intricate carvings. The craftsmanship was exquisite, and though it looked worn, it had a timeless beauty. They opened the box together to find it lined with faded velvet. Inside lay delicate pieces of jewelry, a silver locket, slightly tarnished but still shining in the light, and a pair of beautiful clip-on earrings that twinkled like stars. Can we clean these up? Jake asked, his eyes sparkling with interest. I think they'd look really pretty. Absolutely. We can give them some love, Clara replied with a smile, imagining how the little treasures might once have brought joy to someone long ago. Next, Clara uncovered a stack of old photographs tied together with a frayed piece of ribbon. As she untied them gently, they filled with moments captured in time. Black and white images of people dressed in vintage clothes, smiling brightly at the camera. Some photos showed families gathered around dining tables, others featured picnics in lush green parks, and one particularly beautiful snapshot captured a couple dancing under strings of fairy lights. Mia gasped as she looked over her mother's shoulder. Who are they? They look so happy. I'm not sure, Clara replied wistfully, momentarily lost in thought. Maybe they were part of the family who owned this cabinet before us. What if they have a story? Jake chimed in excitedly. Can we find out who they are? That could be our next adventure. Clara agreed, feeling invigorated by the idea of researching their past. As they continued to explore inside the compartment, Clara's fingers grazed over something else, a bundle of letters sealed with fading wax. Each envelope had elegant handwriting adorned on its front. She picked one up and opened it carefully, marveling at how it had survived all these years. What do they say?" Mia asked eagerly, while Jake leaned closer as if trying to read over Clara's shoulder. "This one's dated from 1943, Clara exclaimed. "It looks like it's from someone named Margaret to her beloved Thomas." Clara began to read parts aloud. The words flowed like poetry, filled with longing and affection. Each letter revealed snippets of their lives during challenging times, talking about everyday life, but also weaving their hopes and dreams for the future. As she read stories about love and separation during war times, Clara felt transported back through history, connecting her family to moments that came before theirs. "Wow, I can't believe these are real letters," Mia said breathlessly. Finally, at the bottom of the compartment lay an assortment of trinkets. A small music box crafted from wood that played a soft lullaby when opened. An ornate key that seemed too grand for any regular lock. And even a tiny porcelain figurine resembling a cherub holding a flower. "What do you think all this stuff means?" Clara asked her kids as they examined each item carefully. "Maybe they all belong to one person?" Mia suggested thoughtfully. "Like these are memories left behind. Or maybe they're gifts for someone special," Jake added enthusiastically. Clara smiled at their insights. Each item now felt more significant. It was no longer just an old cabinet holding forgotten things. It was an entire world brimming with history, waiting for them to explore further. With every old photograph and letter pulled into the light, Clara couldn't help but feel grateful for this discovery. A glimpse into lives once lived that whispered tales through time. She imagined how these items could bring stories alive again within their own home, a way to connect with the past while creating new memories together. "Let's keep these safe," Clara suggested as they began to gather their newfound treasures together in careful piles on the living room table. "We can create our own family history around them. Yeah, we can be explorers," Jake shouted joyfully as he clutched one of the photographs tightly. They all shared laughter that filled the room as excitement swirled around them like golden light spilling from their cherished discoveries. The old cabinet had become much more than furniture. It transformed into a magic portal connecting their family bonds across generations. With hearts full of anticipation and dreams bubbling anew inside them, Clara knew they were beginning an extraordinary adventure together on this journey through time. As Clara and her children gathered around the table, their newfound treasures spread out before them. They began piecing together a story threaded through time. The excitement in the room was palpable, but with each discovery came an intrepid curiosity. Who had owned these items before them? What might have happened in their lives? A mystery lay at the heart of this cabinet, and Clara felt determined to unlock its secrets. "Let's start with the letters," Clara suggested, grabbing the bundle sealed with fading wax. She carefully unwrapped them, smoothing out the yellowed paper before reading aloud. "To my dearest love, Thomas," she began, her voice soft yet full of wonder. As she continued reading snippets from Margaret's letters, you could almost feel the bittersweet emotions expressed on each page. Longing, hope, and the ache of distance during times of turmoil. Mia and Jake listened intently, leaning in closer as if they were part of Margaret's world, witnessing her love story unfold. "What if these letters are clues?" Mia pondered. "Perhaps they show us where Margaret and Thomas went or what they did." Clara smiled at her daughter's insight. "You're right. They could help us understand their journey together." Her mind whirred with possibilities as she examined the handwriting and dates more carefully. "We should find out who they were," Jake exclaimed, his eyes shining with enthusiasm. "Maybe there's more about them to discover." Feeling the spark of adventure ignite within them, Clara flipped through the rest of the letters to see if there were any locations mentioned or specific circumstances that would give them more context. One letter caught her eye. It mentioned a quaint little town down by the river where Margaret often spent summers with her family, a place called Willow Creek. "Maybe we can look that up," Clara suggested, her heart racing at the thought of researching this town. There might be old records or historical societies that can help us learn more about them. As she set the letters aside and picked up the old photographs, she couldn't help but wonder if any of the faces matched those connected to Margaret and Thomas. They studied the snapshots closely, searching for clues hidden in smiles and expressions. Was that perhaps Margaret at a family picnic, surrounded by friends and loved ones? Could that be Thomas catching her eye in the background? That looks like it could be them. Mia pointed excitedly at one photo where a Aki couple danced under twinkling lights, their faces glowing with happiness. "Are those pictures from the same time?" Jake asked, shifting through pages as he searched for any dates or markings. The answers weren't just in what was written, but also could be revealed through careful examination of what was captured through the lens of history. Clara felt invigorated by their sleuth-like spirit. They were digging deeper into not only family history, but stories woven between perfect strangers. Next came the wooden jewelry box, a box laden with silver jewelry and memories of someone's life once cherished. Clara opened it again to look closely inside, feeling the gentle weight of each piece. As she lifted the locket from its velvet-lined interior, Clara noticed something unusual. There was a tiny engraving on the back that read, "Forever in my heart." "What do you think this means?" Jake asked curiously. "It sounds like it might have belonged to someone very special," Clara replied thoughtfully. This could have been a gift exchanged between Margaret and Thomas. Suddenly, Mia remembered another item they found, a small ornate key resting among their discoveries. Clara's heart quickened as she imagined what door it might unlock. A hidden room in an old house, perhaps? Or maybe a treasure chest filled with more memories. "Let's keep this key safe," Jake added excitedly. "It could be our ticket to uncovering even more mysteries." Clara felt a sense of unity and purpose arise within them as they banded together to explore all these connections, wondering if they could unearth further puzzles awaiting revelation. Each item felt like a piece of a larger jigsaw puzzle slowly taking form. Every detail mattered. "What if we create a treasure map?" Mia suggested. "We can track all our clues and what we find next." "I love that idea," Clara exclaimed, thrilled by their shared inspiration. With renewed determination, they began brainstorming ways to connect their discoveries with local records, what they might find online, and how they could represent their journey visually. As laughter filled the room amidst ideas swirling like leaves in a gentle breeze, Clara realized that this cabinet had not only revealed its treasures, but opened up a captivating mystery begging them to uncover its layers. Each clue hinting at lives once lived, stories overflowed with emotion still echoing through time. Little did they know that this shared exploration would strengthen the bonds between generations within their own family even further and awaken an adventurous spirit within them all. With their discoveries laid out before them, Clara felt a surge of excitement. The mystery surrounding Margaret and Thomas beckoned them to explore deeper. "Okay, everyone, it's time to do some research," she announced, her enthusiasm infectious. "Let's uncover their stories together." The next day, with notebooks and pens in hand, Clara and her children made their way to the local library. The sun shone brightly overhead as they walked through Maplewood's quaint streets, filled with small shops and friendly faces. The library stood at the end of the block, its brick facade warm in the sunlight, welcoming them to dive into a world of books and history. Upon entering, they were greeted by the delightful scent of old paper, mixed with fresh coffee from a corner cafe. Clara led Mia and Jake to the history section, where tall shelves lined with dusty tomes seemed to whisper secrets from ages past. She pulled out a few books that looked promising, ones about Maplewood's history and notable families. "Look at this," Clara said, flipping through a dusty volume. "It has pictures of old houses that used to be here. Maybe one belonged to Margaret's family." They spent hours sifting through books, eagerly flipping pages looking for any mention of Willow Creek or names that could be connected to their discoveries. Together, they read about the town's founding families, their ups and downs, triumphs and tragedies. With each story explored, Clara felt more connected not just to Margaret and Thomas, but also to her own roots within this community. "Here." Mia pointed excitedly at a black and white photograph showing couples dancing at an outdoor party by strings of lights, similar to one of their own photographs. "This looks just like the one we found." "That's amazing." Clara grinned as she helped Mia mark the page for reference. It could even be from the same event or era. As they gathered information on gatherings held by prominent families in years gone by, they began connecting dots that hinted at who Margaret might have been. But it wasn't just about names. It was about understanding what life was like during that time. How people celebrated love amidst the backdrop of world events. Once they exhausted what the books offered, Clara thought about reaching out beyond written records. "Let's ask some locals," she suggested enthusiastically. The trio left the library equipped with their findings, but bubbling with determination for more exploration. They wandered over to a nearby coffee shop, where an older gentleman named Mr. Thompson sat reading a newspaper at one of the patio tables. "Excuse me, sir," Clara called out politely as they approached him. "We're researching some old letters we found in a cabinet. Do you know anything about Margaret or Thomas? Or maybe Willow Creek?" Mr. Thompson looked up from his paper, his brow furrowing in thought as he brushed aside his spectacles. "Interesting names indeed," he replied slowly as memories flickered through his mind like flipping pages in a book. "Oh, tell us everything you know," Jake urged excitedly. After taking a sip of his coffee, Mr. Thompson began recounting tales of Willow Creek, a serene spot downriver where families often spent summers picnicking and enjoying music together under sycamore trees. He mentioned dances held on summer evenings where locals would gather under stars. It sounded much like what Margaret had written about. "They say that if you listen carefully near those trees today," he mused fondly, "you can still hear laughter echoing from times long gone." Clara felt goosebumps rise on her arms. Each anecdote breathed live connections from generations past into her heart, as Mr. Thompson shared snippets of history intertwined with folklore. Stories about love that blossomed against all odds. They began believing there was more than just nostalgia tied into these tales. There were heartfelt echoes, and maybe even hidden treasure waiting patiently beneath layers of time. Before parting ways, Clara expressed her gratitude for his time while jotting down insights gleaned from conversation. Names noticed from bits shared made her scribble more quickly with excitement. Returning home later that evening after gathering new snippets of history alongside thrilling stories revealed promise ahead. This journey soon transformed exploring dusty letters into treasures, unlocking truths buried gently throughout years gone by. That night around dinner tables rich with connection from stories traded earlier, a hint settled within each laughter shared. For this adventure encompassed not merely digging up unfamiliar names, but creating bonds between generations, two intertwined with their own family stories, now unfolded, Each clue sparked imagination anew. Whatever lay ahead in this research journey, and possibilities tucked silently amidst pages left unattended. Promised wondrous moments were yet waiting patiently. With newfound enthusiasm, Clara and her children felt a vibrant sense of community surrounding their quest to uncover the mysteries of the cabinet. Inspired by Mr. Thompson's tales, they knew there was so much more help available in their town, and every interaction could lead to new discoveries. The next day, after breakfast, Clara gathered her kids and suggested, "Let's visit the Maplewood Historical Society. They might have records or even people who remember Margaret and Thomas." Mia and Jake exchanged excited glances. This place was known for its treasures of history. As they walked through town toward the old brick building, they passed local shops and greeted happy neighbors. Clara felt a warmth growing within her. This was what community was all about. People supporting one another. At the Historical Society's entrance, they were welcomed by Mrs. Jenkins, an elderly volunteer with bright eyes behind her glasses. "Hello there. What brings you to our little corner of history today?" she asked with a smile. "We're trying to learn about two people named Margaret and Thomas," Clara explained, her voice filled with excitement. "We found some letters in an old cabinet." "Oh dear, that sounds wonderful," Mrs. Jenkins replied, enthusiastically. "Letters are like time machines. Please, come in." They stepped into a quaint room, adorned with photographs and artifacts from days long gone. Clara introduced the children to the wonderful range of displays, while Mrs. Jenkins began pulling out files containing local history. "Here we go," she said cheerfully as she sifted through documents labeled with names and dates. "Let's see if we can find anything about Willow Creek or events that might have involved those names." While Mrs. Jenkins worked, Clara encouraged Mia and Jake to explore the room further. "Remember to look closely at everything. You never know what might spark an idea." As they wandered around, Mia pointed out a beautiful quilt hanging on the wall. "Look at this, Mom. Each square has its own story. It's like telling history through fabric." Clara smiled at her daughter's creativity. "Exactly, just like our letters. They tell stories too." In their exploration, Jake discovered a box filled with items donated by townsfolk. As he opened it up, his eyes lit up when he spotted an old postcard depicting Willow Creek at its height, complete with people enjoying picnics along the riverbank. "Mrs. Jenkins, look what I've found," he called out excitedly. Mrs. Jenkins came over and examined the postcard closely. "Oh my, this is a lovely find." She turned to Clara. "This must be from around the time your letters were written." Jake beamed with pride as Mrs. Jenkins continued sharing stories about celebrations held by the river. Gatherings just like what Margaret had described in her writings. After an hour filled with conversation and stories, it was clear that Mrs. Jenkins had become invested in their discovery journey, almost like a grandmother encouraging her grandchildren on an adventure. "Now," Mrs. Jenkins said as they wrapped up, "there is also Miss Laurie over at the cafe down the street who wonderful memories of old loves, just like those in your letters. You should talk to her." Inspired by her recommendation, they made their way over to the town's beloved cafe, famous for its freshly brewed coffee and cozy atmosphere filled with laughter and chatter. As they entered, Clara spotted Miss Laurie, a sprightly woman with silver hair and a twinkle in her eye, sitting at a corner table surrounded by steaming mugs. She looked up and waved them over as if expecting them. "What brings you here today?" she asked warmly. Clara introduced herself and her children, before explaining why they were seeking information about Margaret and Thomas. Laurie leaned in closer. Excitement lit up her face as she shared anecdotes from decades past. The joy of finding love intertwined with loss during uncertain times. "I once knew a Margaret," she acknowledged thoughtfully after recalling fond tales of customers who used to visit together, holding hands without a care in the world. "You know, those names, it seems like love stories have been intertwined throughout generations. As Lori's shared tales steeped in emotions woven into intimate moments, remembered fondly through time, they painted vivid pictures within each dining conversation. Clara felt herself captivated, not just by uncovering stories, but by witnessing how lives connected transiently across ages, though fleeting moments remained vivid still. After spending an afternoon indulging in laughter over shared histories accompanied by warm cups of cappuccino laced with nostalgia, it was clear this experience had forged bonds, not only within their family, but also with cherished members of their community. Later that night, while settling down for bed, Clara reflected on all they'd learned. From every person they met along this journey, the advice shared tightened invisible threads, weaving connection stronger among them all. Their quest wasn't just about discovering Margaret's history. It was about recognizing every heartbeat echoed through moments spent engaged. All united beneath love, shared between souls across eras, even when apart. It dawned on Clara that within this cabinet lay far more than letters or artifacts. It curated intersections of friendships created amidst searching for meaning where, once lost, now transformed back into light, illuminating home, bursting forth anew. As the days passed, Clara and her children became more and more engrossed in their quest to uncover the history behind Margaret and Thomas. They were driven not only by curiosity, but also by the sense that they were on the brink of something significant, a discovery that could change everything. With each stop and interview in town, they gathered fragments of a larger puzzle that seemed to connect every piece of information they'd uncovered. One sunny afternoon, they decided to revisit the local library, equipped with all the notes they'd made during their exploration. Clara felt a thrill race through her, believing that something monumental was waiting to be found within those walls. As she flipped through files of local history in hopes of finding new leads, it was Jake who, while thumbing through an old magazine, suddenly exclaimed, "Look at this article." He held up a yellowed page showcasing a photo of a family gathered at what appeared to be a celebration on the banks of Willow Creek. Familiar faces welcomed Clara instantly. "That's them," she gasped. Amongst the revelers caught mid-laughter stood Margaret and Thomas. On closer inspection, Mia noticed something remarkable about one of the other individuals in the photograph. "Isn't that the woman from our photographs?" she asked excitedly as they huddled around. Jake nodded eagerly. "Yes, that must be Margaret's sister or friend." Clara took a moment to let it sink in before looking back at the article. It detailed a family heirloom, a stunning garnet ring said to have been passed down through generations. According to legend, this ring had gone missing after numerous tales chronicling how it brought luck and love to its owner. "Do you think it could belong to her?" Clara mused aloud, excitement thrumming beneath her skin. "Should we investigate?" Jake asked breathlessly. "Yes," Clara replied, feeling as if being drawn toward an adventure filled with promise. They began cross-referencing names mentioned throughout different documents, hinting at where they might find clues about this ring. Could there still be someone who remembered where it last had been seen? After some time spent poring over ledgers and birth records, noting familial relations, looking for connections related back towards Margaret and Thomas, their excitement grew as patterns emerged, linking families together tightly over decades. The following morning, Clara suggested they chat with Mrs. Jenkins again and inquire if she had knowledge regarding any subsequent owners or if there were any outreach details about the missing ring's fate through community networks over time. By now joined with undeniable purpose, The trio ventured down those inviting streets, drawn once more into familiar historical societies without hesitation. This fortuitous energy wove itself tightly around them, urging forward roots quickly binding all memories. Momentum flourishing like lovely blooms bursting forth, blanketing their origins rekindled. They found Mrs. Jenkins happily cataloging new donations when they arrived. "I'm glad to see you again," she said heartily while helping them settle into comfy seats across her desk. "Mrs. Jenkins," Clara explained eagerly as she detailed their findings since they'd last met, explaining everything about traditions associated with their discoveries surrounding Margaret's love story. All illuminating avenues, bringing forth what might and could reveal unseen connections leading directly back toward lost items embedded beyond sight. As excitement enveloped each word shared among them, kindled fires higher still, igniting passion towards gleaning knowledge, sitting comfortably upon rich foundation, carving pathways. There perhaps existed natural cycles repeating throughout town, echoing lives. Lived deeply intertwined, surrounding hearts, across ages, passing swiftly underneath ever-flowing stories, waiting patiently behind laughter, echoing warmth, reverberated within spaces filled tenderly shared, connecting journeys, walking together, arm in arm, along intertwined threads, woven gently through time. What about any events that may have happened regarding family heirlooms? Clara suggested carefully, attempting not trembling from anticipation too deeply. It felt almost like awaiting answers, floating just out of reach, yet craving desperately wavelengths. Reaching out toward possible reignitement, sparking hidden glimpse, still lying ahead closely. Mrs. Jenkins pondered a moment before brightening up brightly, declaring she remembered whispers shared within gatherings, discussing old families, renewing interest surrounding lost heirlooms scattered near Willow Creek itself, which could alter paths instantaneously pulled forth toward heritage, carried lovingly forward, brightly shimmering beautifully, beneath layers hidden patiently throughout edge awash, sparkling anything, just before cascade over horizon, promising wonders, emerging anew, shining brilliantly exposed, forward fresh sunshine, overflowing endlessly beckoning story, ingrained perpetually, intertwined, still lingering somewhere, waiting patiently, just waiting perhaps, encompass somehow connecting families wide beyond horizons, together crossing bonds beautifully forged. Original, powerful, with spirits lifted higher than ever while reveling inspiration lit flame, stronger magic spark, opening endless possibilities, awakening hope. Every moment blended, creating flux, paralleling discoveries, remaining only vulnerable, ephemeral, yet enduring devotion, pulsating, remaining exploring deeper, promising, illuminating legacies, entwined exquisitely, wise still, whisper softly behind closed doors, waiting timeless revelations, reminder fabric tracing, soft links, yet uncovered whispers, resonating softly, freezing horizons awaited evolving weights. Excited cries burst, sparkling G's, cheering flags, waving historical new dreams, igniting alive brightly beneath this past untold scintillating moments, inviting destiny unravel future unknown horizons, transforming heights, endlessly searching, proudly treasured stories, drawing near, reigniting passions, shared boundless warmth, glimmer flown, loving eternity, thriving. After a whirlwind of discoveries and connections, Clara found herself reflecting on how this journey had transformed not only her understanding of Margaret and Thomas, but also her perception of her own family and heritage. Sitting at the dining table with Mia and Jake one evening, surrounded by the artifacts they had unearthed, she realized just how much this experience had deepened their bonds. As the children sorted through the letters and photographs, Clara felt a warmth settling in her heart. Each letter from Margaret resonated with emotions that transcended time. They were filled with hope, longing, and dreams, much like those of anyone seeking love and family connection today. Clara contemplated how these sentiments mirrored her own struggles as a single mother, trying to weave a tapestry of love for her kids amid life's challenges. "Mom," Mia said, interrupting Clara's thoughts, Do you think we could find out more about those dances by the river? It sounds like so much fun." "Absolutely," Clara replied, smiling at her daughter's enthusiasm. Those gatherings were important to them, just as our family traditions are important to us. She thought about how every summer barbecue or movie night was a way for them to create memories together, just like Margaret and Thomas once did. Reflecting on their research, Clara began to see parallels between her family's journey and that of Margaret's. She understood the universal desire to feel connected, to roots, to loved ones, and to stories of the past that shape who we are today. It dawned on her that uncovering Margaret's history was not just about piecing together someone else's life. It was an exploration of her own identity as well. "Look at these postcards," Jake said excitedly while holding one up for his mother to see. "They remind me of our trip last summer. We made memories there too." Clara nodded, feeling proud at how perceptive her children were becoming. "Exactly. Every time we share stories or look back on pictures from our adventures, it connects us to each other and reminds us where we come from." As they continued discussing the past, the letters they read aloud, the photos they examined, they began imagining what life must have been like for Margaret during those joyful dances under twinkling lights by Willow Creek. The vibrant energy and excitement echoed through time as they pictured families laughing together then, weaving in and out like threads of fate, binding their experiences into something larger than themselves. The notion that pieces of history could be revived inspired Clara deeply. She now understood that the cabinet wasn't just a relic from another era, but rather a vessel carrying whispers from generations before them. A gateway connecting stories, waiting patiently for someone willing enough to listen. In sharing this discovery with Mia and Jake, Clara felt renewed purpose bubbling within her as she encouraged them to explore their own heritage more actively. "Why don't we start documenting our family stories?" she suggested brightly. They could create a scrapbook filled with memories, from pictures taken over the years to stories shared around the dinner table, just like those cherished letters. "I love that idea," exclaimed Mia. "We can include everything, like when Grandma took us apple picking last fall." "Yes, and Dad's stories from when he was little," Jake added enthusiastically, as their conversation flowed into plans for their scrapbook project. A family history rooted in love, adventure, laughter. The warmth wrapped around them felt like an embrace transcending time itself. Each detail discussed would anchor them further into their family legacy while celebrating both their pasts and futures collectively. That night, as Clara tucked her children into bed, she couldn't help but smile at how this adventure had blossomed into something so rich. An exploration not only into Margaret's life, but also a reflection on their own familial ties anchoring deeply within Maplewood's community spirit. The lessons learned were invaluable. Understanding one's heritage wasn't merely about facts or dates. It was about embracing emotional connections built through shared experiences across generations. This journey had transformed Clara's view of her family history, illuminating paths forward thick with promise, and discovering corners where love thrived even in unexpected places. As she switched off the lights and closed the door softly behind her, Clara felt grateful for all they had uncovered together. As they ventured deeper into both the past and future side by side, all bound forever by tales echoing resplendently throughout time's great tapestry woven intricately evermore. As Clara tucked in her children for the night, she reflected on the incredible journey they had taken since acquiring the old cabinet for just $1. What began as a simple purchase at an auction had unfolded into an adventure filled with discoveries, connections, and invaluable life lessons. Each layer peeled back revealed not only the history of Margaret and Thomas, but also enriched Clara's understanding of her own family's past. The experience taught Clara that sometimes it is the struggles we face that lead us to unexpected treasures. Life was often unpredictable, filled with challenges that seemed daunting. But amidst those hurdles lay opportunities for growth and connection. The cabinet had opened doors, both literally and metaphorically, leading Clara and her children toward histories intertwined through love, loss, and shared memories. Sitting quietly in the living room, surrounded by the artifacts they had gathered, Clara felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. The letters they read echoed through time, and she realized they held more than just words. They contained emotions that transcended generations. They spoke of hope and resilience, qualities Clara cherished as she navigated her own life's challenges as a single mother. "Remember how we followed the clues about Margaret's garnet ring?" Mia asked sleepily after settling into her blanket, breaking into Clara's thoughts. "Yes, that was such an exciting day," Clara replied, smiling warmly at her daughter. "It reminded me that our own family history is filled with mysteries waiting to be uncovered." Jake chimed in enthusiastically. "I can't wait to learn even more about what happened to that ring. It's like we're detectives piecing together a mystery." Clara's heart swelled with pride at their enthusiasm and curiosity. That's right. And by exploring these stories together, we're creating our very own family legacy. She thought about how this adventure had not only sparked their imaginations, but also fostered deeper bonds between them. Through this process, Clara learned significant lessons about embracing heritage and recognizing the importance of storytelling within families. As they compiled their scrapbook filled with photos, stories, and mementos inspired by Margaret and Thomas's past, Clara felt increasingly connected, not just to her own lineage, but to the tapestry of lives woven throughout Maplewood, a community rich with experiences that shaped its identity. The tales they discovered were not solely relics of a bygone era. They were artifacts alive with meaning, breathing warmth into their home as laughter echoed around dinner tables filled with discussions about Margaret's dances by the river or family gatherings under fairy lights of days gone by. Every story became a piece of their family's heart, a testament to resilience threaded across generations. Clara understood now that struggles could lead to wonderful discoveries, not just in terms of artifacts or documents, but through emotional connections forged between people sharing stories passed down from ancestors who had walked before them. This realization transformed her perspective on both her personal journey and her role as a mother. As she prepared for bed after saying goodnight to Mia and Jake, Clara took a moment to reflect on how far they had come since bringing home that old cabinet. It served as a reminder that life's greatest treasures are often hidden within challenges. It takes courage and perseverance to bring them to light. With this new understanding swirling in her heart, Clara felt ready to embrace whatever came next. More stories awaiting exploration within her family's history, connections waiting to be made within her community, and perhaps even more unexpected treasures hidden beneath layers of time, each one promising to fill their lives with newfound joy. Switching off the lights in each child's room before returning downstairs for the last time that night, Clara couldn't help but smile knowingly at how this cabinet had changed everything for them. It had guided them along paths leading towards rediscovery. Their shared laughter, echoing resonantly through every corner, made brighter by love. Infinite threads intertwining beautifully, woven threads, reminding them always that some journeys bring not just memories, but bond families closer even when journeys take detours. Unexpected still flow ever brighter, endlessly onward towards horizons, wide bloom, forever renewed.